This was in Turnberry, Scotland today in this meeting with Keir Starmer, UK Prime Minister. This is cut 3. Trump was just honest. He said, with the Russia thing, it's been a total zero so far in terms of getting where we need to go. Play 3.
I'm going to make a new deadline of about 10 or 12 days from today. There's no reason in waiting. There's no reason in waiting. It's 50 days. I want to be generous, but we just don't see any progress being made.
A couple of things here, Clay. One is that's an honest assessment of where things are, and I've been saying that to you for a while, saying that to everyone for a while, which is why we are sending more munitions now, and we're backing up the Ukrainian forces. Trump came in thinking I'm going to get a deal done here, and he feels like Putin is being a really dishonest party in this. And people say Putin's terrible. Of course he is. Yeah, but in a negotiation like this, he's got to understand that there can be consequences for Russia for ticking Trump off, which I think is what's going on right now. But this is going to get a lot more focus from Trump. He now says there's maybe a 10 or 12 day extension here, but we could see secondary sanctions. We could see some really some turning of the screws a bit here on the economic front to try to bring the Ukraine war to a close.
It feels to me like Putin, and I said this at the start of the summer, and I hope I'm right, at least in the chronology here, that this is still a region where you can't really move much men or materiel during the winter. And the winter hits earlier there than it does most places. So you're talking about maybe 3 months from this point where you could still be advancing, that Putin is just trying to wring as much additional land as he can. And maybe in the winter will be amenable to the idea of, hey, let's just go ahead and draw new borders. And this is where the border is going to be drawn, where effectively the trench warfare is to a large extent. Because I've said this, and I don't think we've ever gotten a really good answer. And I think this is one of the reasons why getting a ceasefire negotiated is so difficult. At this point, knowing what Putin's objectives are is still almost impossible. Next year, I believe, will be 4 years of this war going on. And if you don't know what the objective is that Putin would consider to be victory in some way for Russia, how can you negotiate a settlement? Because what exactly he wants doesn't seem to me to be in the public purview. Does that make sense? What can someone point to and say, hey, I understand, yes, initially I think he wanted to take over all of Ukraine and run it as some sort of puppet kingdom of Russia. That has not been allowed to happen. I don't think it would be allowed to happen. So what are the reasonable expectations or goals of Putin right now? Because we can say, well, we know what Ukraine wants. Ukraine wants all of Russia evicted from all Ukrainian lands. That's not going to happen either. But if you knew what the objectives of Putin truly were, then you could potentially work towards some form of peace. And I think the challenge is we don't know. I would also say the challenge in Gaza at this point is nobody knows what Hamas actually wants, or even if they're willing to negotiate. And so you're kind of in a situation where it seems to me Ukraine and Israel are both willing to negotiate peace agreements, but that Hamas or the representatives of Gaza other than Hamas and Russia aren't. And so what can Trump do? I think it's why he's getting frustrated on that front.
And let's speak to the issue in Gaza right now, because this is growing in public attention very rapidly as images and stories are coming out of Gaza about the not just the devastation, but the starvation that it has faced as a result of, well, obviously lack of food, but there's not enough effort being made to get food into civilian areas. And there are accusations that the Israelis are moving too slowly to allow those food trucks to get in. They are letting some food trucks to get in. This becomes incredibly contentious, as you can imagine, very quickly. Here is Trump speaking on what he is aware of as going on in Gaza right now, his feelings on this plate too.
The United States will be helping with the food. You know, we have a lot of access to food. We got a lot of food ourselves, and we're going to bring it over there. We're also going to make sure that they don't have barriers stopping people. You know, you've seen the areas where they actually have food, and the people are screaming for the food, and they're 35, 40 yards away. and they won't let them because they have lines that are set up. And whether they're set up by Hamas or whoever, but they're very strict lines, so we have to get rid of those lines. But we're going to be getting some good, strong food. We can save a lot of people. I mean, some of those kids that's real starvation stuff. I see it. And you can't fake that. So we're going to be even more involved.
So, Clay, now there's the President Trump saying that the U.S. is going to be providing substantial food assistance to make sure that no one is starving in Gaza, which is obviously morally the right thing to do. And I think it goes to one, how can he help broker an end to that situation? It's a little bit of Trump is doing so well on some of the domestic American issues, specifically the economy and the border, that I think now the administration is in a position where they can spend some time focused on foreign policy goals that are still in our interest and still matter to us. We don't want to keep paying for the Ukraine war forever, for example. But he can externalize some of the energy of the administration in this moment.
I think things are so good that you can start to, and this is what I said last week, you can start to nitpick Trump because things are so good, right? I mean, economy roaring, tax cuts preserved, all-time stock market highs, border shut down on a level that, frankly, I don't think anybody ever really even thought was possible. That's how good things are in terms of border security. Crime, as I said last hour, even the New York Times is saying, my goodness, violent crime is collapsing. It's not getting a lot of attention. So then you start to nitpick. You say, okay, well, the Ukraine war is still going on. That's true. Gaza, you still haven't solved exactly what the solution is going to be to end the conflict that started on October 7th there. You can look at the Epstein thing, right? But they're all tertiary or secondary issues to the average American when Trump ran on economy, border, crime. And if you doubt me, go back and look at the 20 promises that Trump made in his platform as he was running in 2024 that Marsha Blackburn and team worked on distilling. I don't know that we've ever had a president do more of exactly what he said he would do than Trump. I mean, regardless of what you think, a lot of politicians say they'll do things and then they get into office. Biden's the perfect example of this, and do to a large extent the opposite of what they said in their campaign. Trump has directly delivered on everything that he said he would do. I really do believe that. Now, is he perfect? No, no one is. But this is the best 6 months that I can remember any president ever having. And I think that's where the nitpicking starts, because when you get the big issues right, then people start to try to pick and prod at you at things that are not as substantial, that frankly are imperfect, that could be better. And that's where we are.
Yes. So we'll continue to bring you the areas of winning and the victories that Trump is delivering, but also look at some of the challenges. And there's going to be those too. And Russia and Ukraine right now, clearly Putin thinks that he can continue to just push and he'll get more in whatever the end deal is. And it seems the only way to turn that around is to elevate the cost even more. Clay, Trump said that right now they think 7,000 people a week are being killed in that war.
Yeah.
7 soldiers that's
Yes.
on both sides. 7,000 a week. It's horrific. It's not something that we are seeing a lot of. You can see a lot of it online. Actually, there's a lot of footage of what's going on, but you don't see a lot of news coverage of this. But it just would be in the entire world's interest for this to end as soon as possible. And obviously in our interest. So one, we can't get dragged even further into it. And two, we don't have to keep paying for all the things that go boom and bang over there. That would be a really good place for that's where Trump wants us to be. Save lives, stop throwing money into a black hole over there. We almost take our cell phones for granted. We just assume they're always going to work. But when severe storms or emergencies hit, you want to have a backup communication plan. And our sponsor, Rapid Radios, is that backup plan. These modern-day walkie-talkies allow you to stay in touch with family, friends, and colleagues no matter what Mother Nature throws your way, even when cell towers go down. It's instant push-to-talk convenience when you need it most. Whether it's a tornado warning or a power outage, Rapid Radios can keep you connected in those moments and hours. And Rapid Radios offer nationwide LTE coverage and 100% private communication. You don't pay a subscription fee or monthly fees. They also hold the charge for up to 5 days. Visit rapidradios.com to save up to 60%, get free UPS shipping from Michigan, and use code radio for an extra 5% off. That's code radio for as much as 65% off. Order now at rapidradios.com and stay prepared.